Hello and welcome. As a clinical psychologist, I talk with people all the time about the things that shape our lives. And today, I really want to dive into one of the most common, but also one of the most misunderstood human experiences, and that's loneliness. My hope here is to shed a little light on what it is, how it really affects us, and most importantly, what we can actually do about it. Have you ever had that feeling? The one where you're surrounded by people, maybe you're at a party or a busy office, but you feel completely and utterly alone? If you have, please know you're not the only one. It's a really profound part of being human. So let's get into it and understand what's really going on there. First things first, let's be super clear about what loneliness actually is. Because it's not about being physically by yourself, and it's definitely not about your follower count. It's a feeling, a personal internal experience. It's that painful gap you feel between the connection you crave and the connection you actually have. You could literally be the most popular person in the room and still feel deeply, deeply lonely. Now, it's so important that we reframe how we think about this. Loneliness is not some character flaw. It's not a sign that you're weak. Honestly, it's better to think of it as a biological signal, kind of like hunger telling you it's time to eat, or thirst telling you to grab a glass of water. Loneliness is basically your brain's alarm system going off, telling you that a fundamental human need, connection, is running low. It's a call to action. But what happens when that signal, that low fuel light on your dashboard, gets stuck? What if it's just always on? Well, that's when we really need to start paying attention, because that's the point where we see a shift from just a temporary feeling to something more persistent, something we call chronic loneliness. Let's break that down a bit. Most of us, probably about 25% of adults, experience what's called transient loneliness. It comes, it goes, it feels bad, but it doesn't have a huge health impact. Chronic loneliness, though, that's a whole different animal. It's persistent, it can last for years, and it carries a much, much heavier health burden. And what's really critical is that the research shows a very strong link between this chronic state and difficult or adverse experiences in childhood. So what does this chronic loneliness actually look like? Well, it often shows up like this. You might know a lot of people, but you really struggle to connect with anyone on a deeper level. You might not have anyone you'd call a best friend. And that feeling of isolation, it follows you everywhere, no matter who's around. It often goes hand in hand with these nagging feelings of self-doubt, and you might find that just being social leaves you feeling totally wiped out instead of energized.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. This isn't just about a feeling. Chronic loneliness has profound, measurable effects on both our brain and our body, and the science on this is incredibly clear.
This is the statistic that usually stops people in their tracks. When researchers looked at the risk of mortality, they found that being chronically lonely is as dangerous to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Just let that sink in. This is exactly why we have to start treating loneliness like this serious public health issue it is. So how does this damage actually happen? Well, think of it this way. Chronic loneliness puts your body in a constant state of high alert, that fight or flight mode. This floods your system with stress hormones like cortisol. And over time, that constant stress response wears you down. It can weaken your immune system, mess up your sleep, and dramatically increase your risk for really serious things like heart disease and stroke. And the impact doesn't stop there. Loneliness literally changes the wiring in your brain. We see significant changes in the networks that handle our emotions, control what we pay attention to, and even how we think about ourselves and other people. It's like the brain's entire social operating system gets recalibrated, and not in a good way. And all those brain changes create a truly tragic feedback loop. The brain basically gets rewired to be on high alert for social threats, scanning for any hint of rejection, like a weird look or a text that goes unanswered. But at the exact same time, it becomes less sensitive to the good stuff, the positive rewards of connection. This makes it so hard to trust people and break out of the cycle. Okay, but, and this is a really big but, here's the hopeful part of this whole story. While we can't always change our circumstances overnight, we absolutely can change the thought patterns that keep this loneliness cycle going. And this is where the path to reconnection really begins. In psychology, we have a name for these specific thought patterns, maladaptive social cognitions. Now, that's just a fancy term for those automatic negative thoughts that pop into your head, the ones that tell you, I'm going to be rejected, or I'm not worthy of love, or people can't be trusted. They act like a warped filter over all of our social interactions. And the evidence on this is just overwhelming. When scientists did a huge review of all the different programs designed to help with loneliness, things like social skills classes or just trying to get people to hang out more, they found one clear winner. By far, the most effective treatments were the ones that directly targeted and changed these negative thought patterns.
This is why just telling someone to get out more is often not enough. I mean, think about it. If you go to a party completely convinced that nobody there is going to like you, you're probably going to leave feeling even more lonely than when you arrived. The real work isn't just about changing the quantity of your interactions, it's about changing the quality of your thoughts about them.
So, how in the world do we actually do that? How do we change those deep-seated thoughts? Well, that brings us to a really specific, science-backed approach that gives us a clear roadmap for healing and reconnecting. One of the absolute best tools we have for this is called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short. CBT is a really practical, goal-oriented kind of therapy that's all about giving you the skills to understand and then change the unhelpful thoughts and behaviors that are keeping you stuck. And the process itself is really structured, which is what I love about it. We work through it step by step. First, you just learn to identify and catch those automatic negative thoughts as they're happening. Second, we challenge them. We're like detectives asking, is that thought 100% true? Where's the evidence? Third, we work on reframing them into something more balanced and realistic. And finally, and this is key, we act on it. We design little, safe, real-world experiments to go out and actually test these new, healthier beliefs. And I really want to stress that this is a team effort. A therapist doesn't just sit there and tell you what to do. We work with you to set clear, achievable goals. Maybe the first step isn't going to a huge party. Maybe it's just making eye contact and smiling at the person who makes your coffee. It's all about building momentum, one small, successful step at a time. And really, that's the path forward. It doesn't require some massive, scary life change. It just starts with one small step. So I'll leave you with a question to think about. What's one small, totally manageable thing you can do today to start moving toward the connection you want and deserve?